Welcome back. We're going to talk again about the Crusades in this lecture. I want to draw some conclusions here, and I want to link the events of the Crusades to the events that are taking place today. You may remember in 2003, when the United States invaded Iraq, that President Bush used the phrase, quote, "this crusade, this war on terrorism," as he announced our invasion of Iraq. Of course, that word crusade was not chosen lightly. It was chosen because Bush's speechwriters knew that the American people would associate crusades with, if not religious war, then at least Western war against a dangerous infidel or enemy. You might also remember Osama bin Laden. I know there were some videos released after 9/11 showing bin Laden speaking, delivering his message. He called for, quote, "a new battle similar to the great battles of Islam, like the conqueror of Jerusalem." And of course, bin Laden here is talking about Saladin, who we talked about in our last lecture. Bin Laden goes on, he says, quote, "I envision Saladin coming out of the clouds carrying his sword with the blood of unbelievers dripping from it." Again, the ability of Arabic Muslims to constantly reference the people and events of the Crusades strengthens them, while we in the West, of course, remain entirely ignorant of these things. And I think this is a weakness for our country in this ongoing struggle against Islamic radicals. You might remember President Saddam Hussein, whom we hung a few years ago. He made much of the fact, in fact, he mentioned this in virtually every speech, that he and Saladin were born in the same town, Tikrit. In 2000, during the Intifada, the uprising in the West Bank, the Palestinian youths there fighting the Israeli army, throwing Molotov cocktails and rocks and what have you at the armed Israelis. They organized themselves in what they called, quote unquote, Saladin brigades. Again, the language, the Arabic hero of the Crusades reverberates around the Middle East today. This is Ehud Barak, who was briefly Prime Minister of Israel. I believe he's the defense minister now. This is an interview with him in the New York Review of Books. He said, quote, "The Palestinians will push for a binational state with a Muslim majority and a Jewish minority. This would mean the destruction of Israel as a Jewish state. This, I believe, is their vision. They may not talk about it openly, but this is their vision. Yasser Arafat sees himself as a reborn Saladin, the Kurdish Muslim general who defeated the Crusaders in the 12th century. And they see Israel as just another ephemeral Crusader state. Ephemeral meaning passing." This is very telling language. Present-day Israel is no different from the Kingdom of Jerusalem established by the Christian Crusaders at the turn of the first millennium. Again, it's temporary, ephemeral, passing. The pains, the vocabulary of the Crusades remain very much in the consciousness of Arab Muslims, while the West remains kind of pathetically ignorant of these things. Again, I think this is a very dangerous set of circumstances for the West as we continue to sort of blunder blindly through these interminable conflicts in the Middle East without understanding the differences between the Shia and the Sunni, without recognizing how Arabic consciousness vocabulary is directly tied to these events of 1,000 years ago. I think this weakens our effort in this part of the world, And I think it calls for greater study, greater knowledge of Arabic Muslim culture, and specifically of the Crusades, if we are to prevail here in the 21st century. So I'm going to stop there. That's the conclusion of our discussion of the Crusades, and we'll meet again. Thank you.